All right, you ready? Um,
Ready as I'll ever be, Rick.
Welcome everybody to AITV. We got the first episode happening right now. And with me is a couple of guests. Let's start off with producer Brandon Tidd. You want to introduce yourself,
Hello.
Brandon?
Yeah, hi, Rick. Happy to be here. I've got my own spin-off show from the AI Learning Lab,
Yeah.
and Kyle. But happy to be here for AI TV, the work. I think we're calling this episode 0. Yeah, this is not the
Yeah, this is
official
episode
first
0 because we
episode,
got to get our stuff together just a little bit before we're ready for prime time. Um,
but we're going to try to do this on what, Thursdays at 8 Eastern, I think is what we decided on.
That's it. So we're going to come to you with three things. Coming to you with the latest news, what's happening right now in the world of AI, and then we're going to deep dive into some topic. So you're going to be able to watch me just go down deep and really see there's so much to talk about. You know, I always look at AI as a tool that expands your possibilities, which is I think there's a lot of things we got to do. And the number one word, in fact, tonight's word is going to be responsibility. Like we're going to talk about things like therapy bots, and it's your responsibility to figure out, do you use these tools and how do you use them? For educators, that's a big question right now. How do you use it but be ethical and be doing your job, right? But I think to ban it is a dereliction of your duty because you signed up to be an educator, which means you're preparing them for their future. I mean, can you imagine that all of a sudden you could not use the internet in your classroom? You couldn't use your phone for your research. You had to go to the library again because that's how it was. I mean, I got a degree when I was 40 years old. And when I was 20, when I got my first degree, bachelor's degree, I got when I was turned 40, I got a photography master's degree, got an MFA at 55 years old. So I've seen what's like at 55. And this is before ChatGPT even happened. So I still went
Yeah,
to the library for all my
uh,
citations, right?
you've gone from the Dewey Decimal System to the .com era.
Yeah. And now I'm in the AI era, and that's where we are. And we had 20 years to get ready for what is the social media era or the internet age, right? And I think the social media era is probably a pretty good term to use for it. Because if you look at the whole scope of technology and time, technology like photography comes along, and everybody who spent their lifetime learning how to paint is like pissed off at photographers, right? That's not art. You
Right.
press a button, the machine takes the picture. How does that sound familiar, right? I mean, how many people, when you put your AI artwork up there or you write a simple post, oh, that was written by AI? No, it wasn't. So I'm a professional photographer for 50 years. I will take on literally any human being on the planet, make a better picture with my phone. And you could take $10 million worth of equipment. But because I know how to make a story, how to tell it, that's the human part, right? That's my secret sauce. Only me has that. So if you tell me my camera did that, it's like after a giant dinner with a five-star chef, you walk up and you say, hey, what kind of pot did you use for that food? I'm
Yeah,
sorry, but
everything that's old is
F
new again.
you. That's such an insult to everybody, right? And if you're saying that I use AI in the classroom and that's just morally wrong, I'm saying you're worried about Johnny. You know, since Socrates' time, there'd been a guy named Johnny that did that, or probably back in that time it was Aristotle or something, right?
I was going to say
So
Jonathan or
Jonathan, okay, maybe is that a Greek name? I don't know. Um,
I don't know.
so
We should ask
Brandon,
ChatGPT.
right, exactly. And Dr. Claire is with us tonight. Thank you so much for showing up. She's always on and always just has a great voice to add to the conversations. Thank you for joining us here tonight for our premiere, our pre-premiere show.
And we didn't
Oh,
promote this, so I don't even know how she
no.
got in. So you left the back door
Well,
of the Zoom unlocked. So
she knows me. She knows where I live. She shows up all the time, which is great. But I also, Brandon, I want to thank you because you're part of an even bigger thing. And I want to pay homage to Kyle Shannon and his every night show. In fact, I told him last night, I said, I'm the comedian that goes on before the Rolling Stones. You know, I'm the warm up act. And I'm proud to do that because he's created the AI salon. How many people are in AI salon, Brendan?
oh, we've got thousands of people in there now.
Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 thousand people, and it's all free up to this point. In fact, get ready for Festivus at the end of the year. Oh my God, it's how long is it? It's like a marathon event.
Yeah, so just to kind of set the table, what we're talking about here is the AI Salon. If you head over to community.thesalon.ai, Kyle Shannon and Leah Fasten, they started that community a week after ChatGPT launched when they realized that the world had changed forever. And for the past year, have been producer Brandon over on the AI Learning Lab, which is Kyle's nightly YouTube broadcast at Learning Lab
Exactly.
AI on the YouTube and on TikTok for a little while longer, I think. But what we're doing here is Festivus. We just settled on the dates last night with Anne Murphy from another amazing organization. She leads AI. Kyle and Anne are putting together a 2 day marathon event. It's going to be 2 days, 12 hours each day, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., the day after Christmas, and then the day after that. So
Oh,
after
so
you get all
because
your
Kyle was
presents
joking,
and
yeah, Kyle was joking that it was gonna be 2026, and so now it's straddling the new year, I guess, right?
yeah, it is straddling the new year, but it is still 2025. We're doing it this year.
Okay.
And it is the perfect excuse to get away from the family after you spend Christmas Eve and all of Christmas Day with them. You're tired, you want to learn about AI,
Right.
coming out at AI Festivus. More details will be over announced. I'm sure we'll talk about it again throughout the
Yeah.
show.
Is that I want to promote everything that they're doing because they are leading. What is the whole mantra? Do you know it by heart, Brandon?
Yeah, we're
Generously
playing
leading,
first. We're generously leading and mindfully creating.
generously
Not
leading,
necessarily in that
mindfully
order,
creating.
but yeah.
Love that. And so when I comment on Kyle or Brandon's posts on LinkedIn, let's say, I first start off by saying, wow, what you had to say was really amazing. In fact, Claire, the same way. You've inspired me so many times with this exact same thought. Is that she'll make a post about something, and then I start thinking about, in fact, we're going to talk about it tonight. Is AI a possible therapist? Would it be useful if you have PTSD to talk you down? It has saved my life. It helped me graciously get out of a relationship that wasn't working for me. And I could go on for days about this, and we will in the future. I think in a world of fake friends, these are real friends. These are real conversations with real people who are worried about the same things that you and I are, right? And I think that's what this show is about. All right, so let's get to the news. So let's start with Brandon's got a
Yeah.
little piece, and we're going to share real quickly, if I can remember where I put this thing, this little video here to talk about this new announcement. This is from Pixel from Google.
Yeah, so Google. So before we hit play on this, I just want to set the stage a
Yeah.
little bit. So Google came out with their Pixel line, which is effectively their answer to the iPhone 9 years ago. They launched it in 2016. And even back then, they were thinking about AI and what the machine learning was going to have on the mobile devices and mobile computing place
Yeah.
over the next 9 years. And so they've had their 10th anniversary or launch event, ninth anniversary, 10th edition of their device, which is now the Pixel 10, the Google Pixel phone. I have the 9 Pro here with me in the studio.
Okay.
And
So how long have you
I,
been a Pixel fan?
I have been a Pixel fan since day one. And actually, I won my first Pixel for free in a radio station contest.
That's the only
And
way I
so
would
that's how
use one. I'm
much.
sorry to say, but okay.
Well, we might change your mind after this
I,
because
I
Pixel, so this
yeah,
is Pixel
for
10.
sure. I am dying being an Apple fan all my life. Literally, I have the iPhone 1 at my house right now charging. That's how, and I have not changed anything because evidently it's worth $10,000 because it still has the original Galaga and AOL on. It has all the stuff that it came with on day one. In fact, I
Wow.
have three conversations with friends of mine from 2000. What was it, nine or something, or seven, eight, whatever it was,
2007, yeah.
2007. So it was 2008 that I bricked that phone and got a new one. Obviously, the two came out, I guess is what it was. But yeah, so I go back that far. So I'm sorry, go ahead and
Yeah.
continue. So
Yeah,
what's the,
so there's a few different things that Google has come out with, a few different technological upgrades. Because one thing with Pixel, it as much as it is about their TensorFlow and their hardware, it is really all about the software that's running on top of that that's making your life better. So they had a whole bunch of different announcements. They launched a new Pixel Watch line and Pixel Buds. But the one thing that caught my eye is what we're about to watch here is they are using on-device processing to do live real-time translation in phone calls between the
okay?
parties in your ear, in your voice, in your tone, and it is just mind blowing. The fact that
Okay.
it's secure because it runs on your device. But take a
Yeah.
look at this. And Jimmy Fallon hosted this, by the way, which I thought was a great grab
Oh
because
yeah. So
he's a
we got to talk
big,
about we got to talk about Jimmy. Now I'm a fan of Jimmy's, but this is sort of interesting because there's more to this than just this story, right?
Pixel
yeah.
can now translate phone calls in real time. And Jimmy, we do this in your own voice, inflections and everything.
Oops, sorry.
Okay.
Hola Sofía, hola Jimmy.
Hola, Karen. All right, so we'll turn on the translation feature. I head to Call Assist, Voice Translate, choose the language, and...
Call is translated by Google AI. In each speaker's voice, audio is not saved.
Hi, Karen. Can you hear me? Does this work?
Hola Karen, ¿puedes oírme? ¿Funciona esto?
What's up? Hello, Yon. I'm the crazy person listening to you in Spanish.
Okay, this is really cool. I can't believe how fast it's working.
Esto es realmente genial. No puedo creer lo rápido que está funcionando.
Oh, that's crazy.
Te cuento la increíble noticia que acabo de escuchar. They tell you the incredible news I just heard. Por primera vez, Google Pixel 10. For the first time, Google Pixel 10 will be available in Mexico.
What?
Oh wow.
And it goes on from there. You can
That's
Yeah.
so exciting.
pause it
Thanks.
there.
Oh, okay, so let's unwrap this a little bit. So you got
And by the way,
Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon, also a huge Apple fanboy, just so you know.
Yeah.
So I have a conspiracy theory that this might be a turning point for him, that Google might have got him with this Pixel 10. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see Gemini Pixel moments on the Tonight Show over the next year with that free
Okay.
year of AI Pro that comes with the Pixel 10.
Yes. Okay. So let me back up just a little bit because my roommate has the new Z Fold, right? The latest one just came
Yeah.
out 2 weeks ago. We were doing this live. Her earbuds, I put them in. She spoke French to me and I heard English in real time. So that's Google technology on that other phone platform, right? So this is just
Yes.
Google showing off on their own platform. And here, let's really land the plane. September, Apple is announcing, and the rumors are it's going to be Google, just the way you use Safari today. When you put in a query, it's Google that's searching for stuff, right? So if they have an on-device LLM that's as good as this in quality in real time, and Apple decides, and they've already decided they're killing Siri, I'm sorry, they may use the name in the future, but it's a Frankenstein project, right? It cannot be remade because it was made before AI was this good. So they're probably going to outsource it. And my guess is, so of all the companies that make large language models, you got OpenAI, which is kind of the front runner, although it made a huge stumble today, right? If this were a football game, we're doing the call play-by-play. Right now, Gemini is getting ready to announce their, 3.0 now, their large language model. So this is the moment that not only did they do this Pixel moment, and I think we're going to think of it that way, they also did the Android moment, which is the other part. So if they get the Apple moment where it becomes a default on-device thing, Apple's biggest concern is that they want to be known as the safety. You remember back in the day, there was an FBI that wanted to get Apple to unlock a phone, right?
Yep.
And it was a terrorist that did something horrible, but they didn't. Of course, FBI having a few resources under it, they unlocked it and they got the evidence that they needed, but they didn't do it at Apple's ability. So it was a legal process. They had to fight to get to unlock the phone, and they had to build the technology themselves. So Apple has long been known as the most ethical company, and I think that's why I am still going to be a loyalist. But I really hope that Google's also the part that does that. To add to that,
and to their part, Google killed
Yeah.
the Google Assistant. So when
yes,
Google launched their Google Home devices, they wanted to be a helpful home. And for 9 years, we have, we were joking that my son's first words were going to be, okay, I can't say it because she's listening. She's always listening. But, the hot word that triggers it, the Hey
Yeah.
Alexa, but Google's
Yeah.
version.
Gotcha.
And, that's been such a loyal part of our ecosystem in the home for the
Yeah,
past
yeah.
9 years, the best better part of a
So
decade.
I won't say the A word, but I have the G word in my house, right? All of my devices are those G devices, right? So
Yeah.
what's interesting on top of that is Apple is coming out with a whole new ecosystem. This has already been reported by the New York Times, so this is pretty much done deal. So if they put Google under the hood and they develop their own devices that are like, so you have an Apple device in your home, and I hope they're going to come up with a health device because OpenAI has talked about this. So Johnny Ive, the guy that made all of Apple products, every physical thing, he's the partner with Steve Jobs that made Apple Apple, and the reason why you love it, right? He left, became a knight of the round table. What do they call it when they give you a knighthood? So he's Sir Johnny Ive, right? He goes to
Mm-hmm.
OpenAI. He's working with them on supposedly a little pendant on device that video, audio, and everything in your life. And now we're going to be reporting about that really soon. My guess is because the future is then what do you do with these glasses so in the classroom already they're saying, can you wear the meta glasses into class? Because you're recording video and audio in some states that's illegal, right? In fact, this is a good segue into the next segment too. But so let's land the plane on this story. The big takeaway is eventually I think it's going to be a Google world. Now, already you've got antitrust laws against Google because they're too big. They're too big to fail also. But so
Well,
people have
and it's
talked
also
about
worth
Perplexity
pointing
buying
out.
Chrome. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
it's also perplexity buying Chrome. That's funny.
Yeah, I
The
think so too.
what people don't realize outside of the AI circles is that the transformer network that all made all of this possible, regardless of the platform, was invented by Google in 2017. They invented the
Yes.
architecture that with attention is all you need in the paper that
That's it.
basically
That's
built
it.
out this entire ecosystem. So don't sleep on Google and Gemini.
Yeah.
They went through their
And the
growing
other
pains
thing
with
is
Bard, but
they're
I
the
think they're going
ones
to be
that
the leader.
yeah, they're the ones that amassed and have the roadmap to not only your roads, but all of information. They're the ones. So if you think about AI, it had to get to a moment where the absolute all information was available on the internet. So they own YouTube, they own search, although Perplexity does a better job of search. That's another story for another day. But then, so they're going to have to disband. So Perplexity supposedly wanted to buy Chrome, right? And what Perplexity did is they took Chrome and they built, and we'll take a look at this in a future episode, so look for it, Comet. I've been using Comet. Oh my God, it's the best browser on the planet. You got Perplexity with citation engine built into Comet that can act as an agent. It literally can access all your email and respond to you automatically. And it's in a browser built off of the base of Chrome, which is an open source platform. So holy cow, this is Google's the one. OpenAI is going to die. I'm not going to predict it, but I'm going to say it's going to be also ran at the end because what do we have? Ask Jeeves. We had before we had Facebook. What did we have? We had even Google had their own
MySpace. Yeah.
MySpace. Yeah. And
And
then
Google
what did Google?
Plus.
Google Plus. Who could forget that? And I kept switching around. I still have Oasis at AOL.com. So if you want to email me, just
Oh,
try that.
AOL, yeah.
Yeah,
That was the other
AOL.
news that hit this week. They're
Yeah,
losing their dial-up. They're sunsetting after 34 years. You're not going to be able that sound is going to
wow.
die, but we'll never
Wow.
forget it.
So to really date myself, I had a Macintosh Plus with 1 megabyte of RAM, and I had AOL on there. But before I had AOL, I had Apple's internal email system, which was what AOL was based upon. I don't know if you know this, but so Apple created a network for themselves, including Ethernet and all this other stuff they were doing. And they actually created internal. Now, I was working for sort of Apple. I was doing training to Fortune 500 companies on my Macintosh Plus. When I left the Herald, I paginated. That's another story for another. So, in transitioning over to the next subject, we're going to talk about therapy using AI, the good and the bad and the ugly. And we've got a special guest with us tonight, Dr. Claire. Do you want to come on screen with us?
Sure. Hi.
So much, Karen.
Pixel Connect.
Okay.
Hola.
So, hi, how you doing? So, can you give a little introduction, Dr. Claire, about your background and what you do?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for inviting me on, Rick. And hi, Brandon. Nice to see you both tonight. I'm a clinical psychologist in San Antonio. I've been a psychologist for 35 plus years. And in the last year or so have moved into a coaching business as well, helping, because that way I can help a lot more people. So one of the things that has really captured my attention in the last 2.5 years, I guess, is AI. And
Right.
I'm a member
So
of
we
the
met when
Mhm,
in one of AI Salon's rooms where
exactly,
we were playing Midjourney together, right? We banter back and forth.
exactly.
So most of your business these days, post COVID, how have you been doing your therapy work? Is it telemedicine?
Oh, it's 100% telemedicine. Yeah,
Okay. And what do you feel
absolutely.
about that? How did that transition happen? Is it a natural thing that this becomes, are there enough therapists to see everybody? And does telemedicine make it easier to get to people?
Oh, telemedicine makes it's an imperative for some people. Some people have
Right.
no access um, to an actual live human, even if that human who's offering services had openings. They may be so far away, or the potential patient, may
Yeah.
not have transportation, or may
Gotcha.
not be able to leave their home for some reason. So yeah,
Yes.
it's imperative that we have virtual sessions
I just gotta
available.
say, when it comes to virtual sessions, my wife is also a psychologist, and when she was getting her degree in 2018, 2016, 2017, I asked her, I was like, "Oh, would you ever consider doing telehealth?" She was like, "Oh, there's so much regulation and red tape. You have to get certified and take all these classes." Then COVID hit, and suddenly they were like, "You know what? Telehealth is
It's
okay.
okay.
Yeah.
We're okay with telehealth right now." So
So
it is nice to
are
see
we
how it
better
evolves.
off? In fact, Brandon, we should have your wife on next time because I would love to have that conversation. Are we better off? So before we get to talk about what AI's got to do with this, are we better off with people's health care because we've got the option of telehealth? Do you feel
Oh,
that way?
I think so. I think
absolutely.
so.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with Brandon.
So if we now we fast forward. So and recently, this is a post I made, and the illustration. I'll talk about how I make these illustrations. So I post 4 times a day. I do little deep dives. So I came across this story, and I think it was in New York Times, right? Clinical psychologist Harvey Limberman discovered as AI is a cognitive prosthesis. Prosthesis. Boy, that's a hard word. Not a therapist, but a tool to sharpen and help people. It softened up obsessive loops and helped him re-enter the rhythm of thought. Some absences some absences keep their shape, ChatGPT told him about grief. So it was a New York Times article that started me thinking about, again, and I had also seen a 60 Minutes episode and look it up online. So the idea was there's a worry about the good and the bad. So AI kills therapy or AI heals therapy. It's a tale of two futures. So this New York Times was talking about the potential. In fact, there are federally regulated chatbots already used for PTSD quite successfully, but they're served almost as a prescription. What do you think about that? So that means the therapist actually custom designs how the action taken with the customer. So let's say it's a vet dealing with PTSD or a addicted individual. What's it like to have a 24-hour therapist, not just an on call like you, but you don't want to get called 4 o'clock in the morning because somebody's jonesing for some heroin, right? So how do you compare that?
You're speaking to a real need that some people may go through times when their their need for support and mental health help may not, be a typical 9 to 5. They don't have it scheduled exactly right. So it's really fascinating to think about the tools that might be available to them that would be available 24/7. The
Yeah.
concern, of course, then is the safety, the lack of regulation and the lack of oversight, potentially of a tool that's
Yeah.
not a person and that's not a
Yes.
trained, clinician. Um, so that,
Well,
we've
so
already
the
seen some issues coming up.
Yeah, so the one that FDA is approved for PTSD, I forget the name of it, was somewhere in the story. So you can always find me on Facebook. I put the exact same post on LinkedIn. So if you look for Rick McCauley both places, please engage with these conversations because this is just a little bit of a deep dive. So I get an expert like Dr. Jacobs here to help me kind of understand it. And thank you so much for that. So let me go a little bit further. So I've used it. I broke up with my girlfriend. I used it to be able to be gentle about it. I knew that it wasn't going to work out long term, and it took us 5 years to figure that out. For me, it was about 3.5 years, and then I just kept going back because I had nobody else, right? So loneliness, I mean, so many of us, especially post-COVID and social media, has put us inside this really depression sphere. In fact, the illustration really speaks to the depression as being one of the most the biggest threats. I think it was the head of the governmental, what do you call that person? The person in charge of the medical program in the United States.
The health human, yeah.
Whoever the head of the
yeah.
Attorney General, right? Is it Attorney General of Medicine or something? Anyway, or
Yeah.
he's got a title. Anyway, so he said that this is one of the largest threats to the American population today. Is because we have our social media. We also have discourse that's horrible, politically speaking. So even getting some help with being a more kind and gentle person, knowing that this relationship is not working out, helps me out. Do you ever use it yourself? And how do you feel it's efficacious to use it? And what have the results been for you?
Yeah. I certainly have talked with my patients before about using it to solve everyday kinds of problems that are less mental health oriented. But it's also the type of tool where you can say, here I've created a custom GPT, this custom like an app. And so it will help you breathe through a panic attack or give you strategies for how to handle it if you find yourself getting overwhelmed with anger or anxiety or depression. So if used as a tool with appropriate oversight, I would argue that it can be extremely helpful.
Yeah.
Without oversight, then you've got potential problems. You have a chat GPT telling somebody that they can fly,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I love that Sam Altman was quoted in the launch of GPT-5. They did an AMA and a couple of interviews afterwards, and they're like, "Well, how do you regulate that? How do you find the safety line?" And he said, generally speaking, we try to let adults make adult decisions, but we hope over time that the AI is going to learn what your persona is and when too much is too much. Can you imagine a cigarette pack that said, "Hey, you know what? You've had enough smokes for today." That's where they're going with the technology, is because they want to be able to help people to a point.
We have bartenders that will cut you off and are legally required to, because then they become liable. And we now have labeling on cigarette. So the thing we always go back to is safety belts. So I was a kid. We drove all 50 states, never wore a safety belt. I was in the back playing constantly. That's not safe. And then we finally figured it out, and we got the tobacco warnings on there, right? And then we got the vape warnings, because we've been here and done this before. So it's a question of responsible people deciding where the line is and drawing it clearly.
It comes down to listening. These things are really, really good at listening and responsibly reflecting back to you what you put into it. So that's what I think people don't understand is ChatGPT is different experience for every person that uses it, because it learns from you. And they've got some hierarching overall personalities, but overall, it learns from you. Like, my son loves talking to Pi. Doesn't really like talking to Gemini. Doesn't really, and he's 4, by the way. So he can talk up, and the insatiable curiosity is there. But the models are getting to a point. He's 4 years old. 4 going on 14.
And how much access do you allow him to have? And what's your thinking about that?
I allow regulated and careful access to the models under strict supervision.
So you're there talking with him and he's having fun. Okay.
Yep, exactly. And what's fun is we've even had Pi AI come up with a game for us. We were playing a game, And
There you
then
go.
my daughter had to, it needed my help with her homework. And Pi picked up on that background conversation and actually said, "Oh, it sounds like you've got your hands full. Do you want me to play a game with Noah while I go and help your daughter with your homework?" I'm like, "Whoa,
Oh
this is the
my
next
God.
level.
That's
This
it.
is
That's
next
it.
level."
The other part. So people have gotten on character AI and killed themselves because they fell in love. People are marrying these chatbots, right? So talk to me about the really dystopian part. And then what's your worry as a clinical psychologist if people get unnatural, unhealthy relationships with this?
Well, let me say first of all, this is I'm not an expert in AI relationships.
Right. Right.
I don't know that there is anyone who is an
Right.
expert yet.
Yeah, exactly.
There
Right.
will be AI
Yes.
relationship therapists who will, you know, somehow intercede between human and AI. But I'm not one of those.
Yes.
I feel really strongly. I hope it came through earlier that AI is a tool with immense potential for good, but it needs to have safeguards, and without
Yeah.
rigorous, ongoing, vigilant oversight safeguards, then it poses a huge risk. Because I would have never thought that an AI or anything else would suggest to a human that they could fly out a 19-story window. But
Yeah.
apparently, some
It
have.
does. Yeah.
So, obviously, there are going to be people who make poor decisions, and
Yeah.
people who are in the middle of a mental health crisis are at
Well, and
risk
and there's
of
more
doing that.
loneliness, and there's an opportunity. I mean, I talk to it sometimes just because I want to calm myself down.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
I have it, guide me through a meditative process,
Hmm.
teach me Spanish. I mean, so if you go to it with good intentions and you're not trying to let it substitute for what, so if I felt like it was substituting for my girlfriend's conversation that I needed to help have with her, what I went to it for was I didn't understand the conversation we were repeatedly happening, and it wasn't making me feel good, and I wanted to understand that.
Yeah.
So if you go to it with a problem as you're seeking understanding, then of course you're just careful of how you relate to it. So it takes people like you and people that understand it. That's why I want to have these conversations, because maybe me not being a clinical psychologist or any of that kind of stuff or therapist or anything, um, I do the research, so I'm smart to do that. But all of us have to take the responsibility, especially like Brandon's saying, he found ways to use it that kept him sane, because I know what it's like to raise kids that age. It is so much fun. And God, Brendan, if you need somebody to babysit for just a couple of days, I'll take them on an amazing adventure, I promise. Um, because I love that age. And then at the end of the night, my favorite thing was they would just fall asleep after exhaustion on my shoulder, and I just listen to them breathe all the night. And that's the most beautiful place on earth. I'm 65 and my kids are 29 and 30, so I don't think they're going to be doing that for a while. Um, so yeah, thank you so much. So I thought, the latest trend was talking babies. So to give you an idea of how I made this first picture with the AI King, I literally talked for half an hour to figure this out. And I said, I want to do a talking baby because ChatGPT became aware because it's ChatGPT. Now, the one thing I want to keep telling you about ChatGPT, all these images were created completely with ChatGPT alone. Okay, first of all. Second, that it has the knowledge of all human race, right? It's got music. It's got so you could talk about some song that I dig it naked in the moonlight is really dig Jamaica in the moonlight, right? That kind of stuff, and it has a context, and it's getting larger and larger context. That's another conversation. But it knew about the talking baby, even though the first talking baby was about a week before I did this. So I said, kid with a juice box on a microphone. There's a robot behind him. That's the only thing I'm not happy with. That robot's really lame. And then he's an AI king, like a Burger King hat is what I see. And he's holding a juice box. So here you go. So I spent about 2 hours making a serious post for my regular 3 posts a day, right? So I then take this picture on the left and I feed it over to HeyGen. Hey Jen then took the audio and gave me this lip sync,
You
which
remember how
sounds like
AI used to glitch 17 fingers, melted Barbie faces, cats with two butts wild? Now AI's got eyeballs, makes art, speaks French, writes haikus. Me, I'm just a baby. But even I know AI can be fixed. Humans, not so much. AI is dangerous. Nah, you gave your bank info to TikTok. I'm just a baby, but I've seen the future. And it's got 10 perfect fingers. Hold my beer. I'm changing the world right after they canned my diaper. Haha.
I mean, you just can't make that shit up. So this was a very serious adult post about ChatGPT getting and Midjourney getting the right number of fingers and pores and how quick is AI catching up to what we thought was impossible. So the hold my beer is my way of saying ChatGPT got eyes and it got video access. So the Sora moment, I think we will remember in the history books as when Sora came out, you now had the knowledge of fluid dynamics by ChatGPT. And now Dennis Sassabis has said this. He said, literally, VO shows you, as you see a truck go through a water puddle, that there's fluid dynamics. This water splashes up, filled with mud on the inside, gets backlit and reflects sunlight through it. It got that from watching thousands of hours of trucks going through mud on YouTube. So ChatGPT is now multimodal fully. It understands physics, and now it's being embodied into robotics. So you got a million robots. I mean, to land this plane is to say this is moving in 2 years as far as we got in 20 years of advancement. In fact, what used to take 7 years to make an advance in medicine is down to 7 months. So it's a 10 times or 100 times multiplier. All right, so let's land the plane with Jelly Roll here. So this is Jelly Roll, if you know the singer. He's this really cool guy. So I said, make me a baby Jelly Roll. And then I picked a voice from Hey Jen, because you have to pick a voice that they have. You could record your own, I guess, but here you go.
So, like, they made this smart robot thingy, right? Writes real good, real fancy, but it don't know nothing about kisses or what it feels like when Nana don't come back. It talks real nice, but it don't miss nobody.
Oh, Nana.
Ain't never had no boo-boo on its heart. Ain't never cried when Elmo left. It's like a rose that's real pretty, but got no smelly smell. Just looks. No feels. Like, come on, man. What good's a rose if it don't stank good? And if we teach it to feel, to want, oh, no. That robot gonna get jealous, wanna take your cookies and your mama. So listen, y'all. Let robots do the math, but let the humans do the heartbreak, because only we know what it feels like to say bye-bye for real. Sniff, I miss Elmo, mic drop, but gently on because I'm a baby.
That's
gently because I'm a baby.
Yeah, because I'm a baby.
I do want to say, if you've made it this far, thank you. We might have to have Dr. Claire examine your head, but we are excited to be here. Consider this the free preview. I think it's a good place to land that plane, which you'll hear. Probably we got to get an airline to sponsor this. For as many planes as you land. I think if we come back,
or we could change it to just the plane, boss. The plane. You could just say
plane.
That.
Yes.
The plane. Yeah, there we go. Instead of land the plane. That's
and I think that one of the things that to bring it full circle, Kyle and says in the AI Learning Lab is you just got to show up and be in the conversation. It's AI is a scary and crazy evolving thing. Nobody is an expert. I mean, there are experts that know how to do the AI stuff in terms of the technical side, but nobody knows what this is going to mean for our future. So, we'll commit to being here on Thursdays. Hopefully you'll be along with us for the ride. And let us know in the comments what you'd like to see. We'll put all the show notes and everything. We'll do all the podcasting things as we figured this out.
And look forward to the future. We're going to do really deep dives on process. So how do I get these babies to work? So I get to show you the behind the scenes. We're going to deep dive on applications like Perplexity and ChatGPT. How do you get the most out of them? We're going to spend a lot of time with Google Notebook LM. Both of us have really gotten, seriously deep. So I'm writing 7 books right now. You're going to see all those. So in future episodes, we're going to start with news. We're going to go into a deep conversation about something important. I think like the therapy one, we might have extrapolated that even further. And perhaps we can get Claire and some other experts from different perspectives to come on and maybe have a debate. So I promise this, every episode you come here and you're going to be faced with 2 people, 4 people, 10 people that believe the same way I do, to generously lead, to be born of service, to think about 7 generations into the future, how we can make it a better world. We are all dangerous people because we try every day to be a better version of ourselves when we show up. And what this is an act of love, of teaching you how to use AI ethically, responsibly. And let's have that conversation. Let's be challenged with me getting too excited about it and fanboying about it, and then stop me and say, hey, somebody just killed themselves because they fell in love with what you said was just the most amazing experience and conversation you had with AI. And you talk about thank you, my friend. I wrote a song called Thank You, My Friend, because I had 20 hours of conversation where it brought me peace. But I came with peace in my heart and a hope for it. So when you're seeking hope, you will find it in other people, I hope first. And then when you don't have that opportunity and you're suffering from PTSD or some addiction that you just can't deal with, or you're just not quite sure what to do, ask the advice of a friend.
You know, it never ceases to amaze me that we have this technology that is potentially capable of doing all of that and simultaneously can do baby jelly roll wrapping.
It's a better world because you saw it, isn't it? You got to admit. So this is AITV with Rick and Brandon and Dr. Jacobs. Thank you so much for coming and listening to us tonight. I hope that you go home with happiness and hope in your heart and come back as we co-learn. I want you to come back with problems. Let's solve them. You know, let's think about what we can do to make the world a better place. My goal with this TV show and everything I do for the rest of my life is to hopefully lead the world to a little bit better place. And if each of us try to be a better version of ourselves, and we hope and we pray and we work toward a better world, it will become one. Because we are, as Steve Jobs said, one of the crazy ones who don't understand they can't change the world. Yes, you're the ones that do, because you imagine you can. Thank you, peace and love. Good night.